Inflation isn't just some boring number you hear about on the news. It's more like this silent thief, constantly working to drain the value from your hard-earned money. But what if you had a real, honest-to-goodness battle plan to fight back? Well, that's exactly what we're going to build together in this explainer.
Have you ever had that feeling you're at the grocery store, you're at the gas pump, and you just look at the total and think, wait a second, this used to cost way less? You are not imagining things. That feeling, that is the real, tangible effect of inflation hitting your wallet, and it's the very challenge we're going to tackle today.
Okay, so to win this fight, we can't just wing it. We need a strategy. Our battle plan today is broken down into 5 key missions. First, we got to understand the enemy. What even is inflation? Then we'll build up our defenses by getting our finances in order. After that, it's time to go on the attack with smart investments. From there, we'll look at securing your long-term future. And finally, we'll talk about how to stay proactive so you always have the upper hand.
All right, mission number 1. What is inflation? Let's get to know what we're up against by really understanding how it erodes our purchasing power.
So at its very core, inflation is just a steady, sustained increase in the price of pretty much everything. The most important thing to get is this: your dollar today buys less than it did yesterday. The government officially tracks this with something called the Consumer Price Index. You've probably heard it called the CPI.
And believe me, this effect adds up way faster than you'd think. Let's make it super real. Imagine something costs you $100 today. With what seems like a pretty small 3% inflation rate every year, that same exact item could cost you about $134 in just 10 years. That's a massive hit to your money's power.
Okay, so now that we know the problem, it's time to execute the first part of our plan. It's time to defend your finances by building an unshakable financial foundation.
Your first line of defense is always going to be a solid budget. And honestly, a fantastic framework to use is the 50-30-20 rule. It's such a simple way to divide up your after-tax income. 50% goes to your absolute needs. We're talking housing, food, the essentials. 30% is for your wants. And that last 20%, that's a non-negotiable slice for savings and paying down debt. It just forces you to be intentional about where every dollar goes.
Next up, we got to get rid of any weaknesses in our financial armor. And let me tell you, high-interest debt, especially from credit cards, is like a giant anchor in an inflationary storm. It is actively working against you. The game plan is simple. First, identify it. Second, attack it with everything you've got. And third, look into things like balance transfer cards to stop that interest from bleeding you dry.
Defense is also about plugging the little leaks that can sink the whole ship. This means combing through your expenses. Are there subscriptions you don't even use anymore? Can you cook at home a few more nights a week? All those little things add up to real cash. And hey, on the flip side, think about boosting your income. A side gig, some freelance work. Every extra dollar is another brick in your financial fortress.
All right, our defenses are secure. The foundation is strong. Now it's time to switch from defense to offense. Let's talk about how to attack with investments and make your money work even harder than inflation is working against you.
The golden rule of any attack is diversification. You don't put all your soldiers in one place, right? Same with your money. You have to spread your investments across different asset classes. Stocks, for example, give you higher potential for growth. Bonds are generally a bit safer, lower risk. But a true inflation-fighting portfolio should also include real assets, things like commodities and real estate, which tend to do really well when prices are on the rise.
Now check this out. Here's a specialized weapon for your financial arsenal. TIPS. That stands for Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. Just think of them as government bonds that have a superpower. Their actual value goes up with inflation as measured by the CPI. They are literally designed to protect your purchasing power. Pretty cool, huh? Even the cash you have sitting on the sidelines for emergencies needs to get in the game. A standard savings account is a guaranteed losing battle against inflation. So you've got to look at options like high-yield savings accounts, certificates of deposit, or even short-term bonds. They all offer much better returns. Each one has a different level of liquidity, which is just a fancy word for how fast you can get your hands on the cash, so you can pick what works for you and stop your cash from bleeding value.
Okay, we've covered our short-term defense and attack. But this isn't just about winning today's battle, it's about winning the war. So let's zoom out and talk about how to secure your future with long-term inflation proofing.
This number right here, $23,500, is a big deal. For 2024, that's the contribution limit for one of your most powerful wealth-building tools, your 401k. Consistently putting money into tax-advantaged accounts like a 401k or an IRA is absolutely crucial.
It lets your money grow and compound year after year without getting hit by taxes, which is exactly what you need to outpace inflation over the long haul.
Here's a retirement hack that is just huge. When you claim Social Security matters a lot. Just look at this chart. See that first bar? That's what you get if you claim at age 62. Now, watch what happens when you wait until 67. Big jump, right? But if you can hold out until age 70, look at that. You maximize your benefit, giving you a much larger inflation-adjusted income stream for the rest of your life.
Now, one of the biggest long-term threats that people forget about is healthcare. The costs here often rise even faster than general inflation, so you have to plan for it. Using a health savings account, an HSA, is a brilliant move. It lets you save for medical stuff tax-free. Also, keeping your investment fees low and thinking about long-term care insurance are really smart ways to protect your nest egg down the road.
So, we've built the plan, but the battle isn't over, not by a long shot. The final and maybe the most important mission is this: stay proactive. Your financial plan is a living, breathing document, not something you just set up once and forget about.
This quote really says it all. The key is constant review and adjustment. The economy is going to change, your life is going to change, so your plan has to be able to adapt with it. You should schedule a financial checkup for yourself at least once a year, just to make sure your strategy still makes sense for your goals and for what's happening in the world.
So there you have it. We've gone over the intelligence, the defensive strategy, the attack plan, and the long-term vision. You literally have the blueprint for your own personal battle plan against inflation. So the only question left is the most important one. What's the first move you're going to make?